All right, some internet news here. It is September 26th, Friday. Anyone familiar with the internet space, YouTube? Yeah, a lot of these entrepreneurs, see them all over social media, basically. Tai Lopez, this guy, I remember him probably the last 10 years. He does all this course selling. I believe he lives in California. He's one of the original, like, sell stuff online, YouTube, build up a big following, and basically got busted. Radio Shack Pier 1 import owners accused of operating $112 million Ponzi scheme. SEC alleges Alex Mayer and Tai Lopez misled investors about struggling retail brands' performance. I didn't even know they were still around, Radio Shack. The SEC is accusing the men who brought bankrupt chains, Radio Shack, Model Sporting Goods, and Pier 1 running a Ponzi scheme that duped investors out of tens of millions of dollars. Of course, but of course, a complaint from the U.S. District Court, Southern District, Florida, alleges the co-founders Miami-based. When you see anything Miami, it's a scam. It's a big scam. I told people Miami is scams, um, prostitutes, hookers, escorts, living the high life, like showing off, flexing. That's where it comes from. A lot of scams come from there. All right. Chief operating officer, blah, blah, raised 125 million, 112 million combined investors by selling investments in 8 companies they created and controlled under retail e-commerce ventures. Between April 2020 and November 2022, they raised money by selling 2 types of investments. They sold unsecured notes on promised returns of up to 25% a year of ownership of the shares that offered monthly payouts as high as 2%. Someone's Here you go. So unsecured notes, they promised 25% a year. Yeah, you believing that from anyone? Oh my God. Yeah, invest in our ventures, whatever. You look deep into stuff like, okay, let me look. Then you're going to give me 25% a year. And they also claim that the money would be used by struggling retail brands to fund operations. But the SEC alleges Mir Lopez misled investors and how well the business was actually doing. Yeah, they're probably doing nothing. The complaint cited at least one promotional video posted on the internet. Lopez touted REV's approach and best strategies. Let's see what else. As he said, that Lopez further assured investors that while businesses were struggling, portfolio companies were on fire, cash strong. What else here? They assured investors that funds raised specific portfolio company would be used for a company REV. Retailer brands had never failed to pay a single investor, and the complaint continued. However, SEC said that while some of the retail brands generate revenue, none of them generated profits. To pay interest, dividend, and maturing note payments, Merritt Lopez resorted to using combination of loans outside lenders, merchant cash advances, money raised from new and existing investors, and transfers from other portfolio companies to cover obligations. Now, this guy Lopez, I don't know how much he's worth. I'm assuming millions, but yeah, he had to go outside to get loans, outside lenders, merchant cash. Yeah, when does in life become greed? When you have millions of dollars, you're not happy. Now, of course, if you, to say you make 1 million a year, you have 5 million in your bank account. Yeah, you want to grow a business. You maybe want to make more. I don't have a problem with that. But when we become outside, like he's getting outside lender, merchant cash advances, like this guy must be in massive debt, or it's nothing's ever like it seems. It's kind of weird there. All right, and then at least 5.9 million of returns distributed to investors were Ponzi-like payouts funded by other investors. So you get money from someone like whatever, you might get a bank. I get $100,000. Then I'm giving some of that money to investors, and it's just a chain until you run out of money. Ponzi-like payments funded by other investors. Complaints that Mayor Lopez were also accused of misappropriating approximately 16.1 million investor funds for personal use. Of course. What do you think they did? Probably went vacations, the old thing what people do. It's vacations, went overseas, Greece, Italy, probably bought a few Lamborghinis, house. Oh my God. In total, REV and related companies included Dress Barn, Linen and Things, Models, Pier One, Radio Shack, raised about 112 million from investors when they were defaulted. Creditors took the brand, sold them off to a new company, the retail enterprise. So frauds. Every day there's fraud going on. It's a matter of if you're going to get caught and when you'll get caught. Who knows? Let's read the comments here. Work up sympathy, store brands. They promised 25% returns. Should have been a red flag, of course. Someone's going to tell you you're getting 25% returns. It's crazy. The gullibility and greed of some people, mind blowing. Reading the comments. 25% returns, percent a month. Straight, what is this? Let me get this straight. US government saying some private organizations running a Ponzi and pyramid scheme. Radio Shack. Did not realize that Radio Shack was still in existence. Either did I. I know years ago I thought they brought it back, but I don't, remember seeing it anywhere. That's why it's online, I guess. So the total frauds, like Bernie Madoff, there's a lot of frauds out here. Once you start getting into New York, California, Miami, people are investing money. You're gonna do something like this. Like this is way over my head. Like I don't want to run stores and online, and they weren't either. That's why it was a scam. Now, as far as I read other articles. They don't want him to go to jail, Tai Lopez, but he's got to pay back a lot of money. Then that could be a problem. If you don't have the money, what happens? Maybe that will lead to jail. So who knows? We'll see more comes out of this. Online, I've only seen people on YouTube, do videos on this story. So he was in the like course sales years ago about financial. I don't know if it's get rich or just different things financial. Now, the thing with anyone online selling something, if you want to buy it, that's on you. I saw a course this kid selling for $10,000 on trading. He's like 21 years old. Do you think he knows how to trade or at least anything that makes sense? No. He's young, he's flashing, to young people, and that's how he's making his money. So buyer beware. But you can sell anything online. I don't have a problem with that. People are fools, but it has to make sense. I do a lot of fitness. I do a lot of everything about the stock market. Since 2006, I've been studying the stock market. Everything that's going on. You get better and better once you see what the market does year after year, and you just learn a lot. But all these guys are, definitely scamming. You're doing stuff like this. It's a total scam. And he's using the money and whatever he was using it on, who knows? Luxury trips, cars, the same old thing. And that is where we're at in America. All right, that's it. Please subscribe to Mike Heyman Trades on YouTube. Smash the like button. Any comments on this story? Any other things like this? Frauds out here. We are done. Peace.